a lot of people watching in right now, or as they watch the recorded version of this, saw our roundtable last week. A lot of good hits, right? We got a lot of love, a lot of buzz, a lot of chatter. It was a controversial topic, right? It was DeepSeek. That was hitting the news over the last couple of weeks right before Super Bowl, and looks like it's toned down a little bit. Although we're starting to see more about DeepSeek being under scrutiny, right? So there's a lot of allegations out there. We hit on this quite a bit during the roundtable last week around using others' data to train their models, specifically OpenAI. Speaking of OpenAI, so DeepSeek using OpenAI's data, they're under the microscope. DeepSeek's in a lot of heat. So we'd love to hear from both of you gents on what's going on here. Let us know what's happening.
Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, so what it looks like is OpenAI is suspecting that DeepSeek was pulling the data they were generating and extracting out of ChatGPT to train their model. And truthfully, this isn't a shocking revelation. This is something people have been running out of data to be able to train models on. So the next logical step is start training it on the outputs that are coming from all of these models. So I think this is where the industry is going to go, because as much new data is created, it's not enough to get it to that, superior augmented reality that people's are feeling is going to happen. So I think this is something that's happening, and it's going to continue to happen. And it's the only way to be able to start getting more new data to be able to train models.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about synthetic data and how we're running out of data sets to train on. But I think that this is just a consequence or a symptom of being closed source, right? I think the open source community has just grown so substantially, and it has proven its commercial viability, even though it's open source, because there's a lot of commercial tactics that are used in open source technologies whereby which the code base to a platform can be released fully openly out on the internet, typically on places like GitHub, but do still have commercial options for enterprise deployments. And so I think that this is a symptom of being closed source. And I think we're seeing open source players out there who are reportedly nation state funded. We can't confirm or deny that, that are using techniques like distillation to copy how closed source models reason through problems.
Yeah, it's a good point. And we chatted about this on the roundtable. We spoke of that phrase distillation, right? They're distilling the data. Now, you brought up a good word, and I think, we have a lot of technical people out there that understand synthetic versus how you train the model on our human data, right? What we offer it. Can you just quickly go over the difference between what we're normally giving the model? And I think there was a study out there where by the year 2030, we're running out of what we can train the model on. We're going to start having to use some of the synthetic data to come up with different ways to train the model. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Nick and Jason, but if you can kind of land that plane for me. I know a lot of people out there want to understand, where is this going? What does that mean?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of where we're at the tipping point. Is the data that's being generated out of OpenAI or Claude, is that part of their intellectual property, or is that, and does that need to be copyrighted, or is that something that anyone can grab and be able to take it and train their own model? So I think that's going to be great to watch how this lawsuit takes shape, to see, is there going to be new guidance and direction on what the definition of the intellectual property of these model outputs?
Yeah, so synthetic data it's fake. It's made up. From a cybersecurity standpoint, answering in that way, we never want to test on production data or on production systems, right? When we are building applications, or application teams are building applications, it's always wise to use test data or fake data so that we can avoid any sort of mistakes. There can be mistakes made on perhaps leakage of the data. So we're really devaluing the data set itself, so that we have nothing to worry about. Now, from a model training standpoint, I'd say that synthetic data gives us the opportunity to produce data that wasn't created by humans, but rather by machines. And I think there's a huge play out there on the creation of synthetic data. But now this begs the question: will future models' responses or their completions be based on reality, right? Because if these models are being trained on synthetic data sets that aren't representative of the real world, are we going to get real world answers? So that's something that's left unanswered for now.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, that was Nick. You're foreshadowing a potential podcast episode that we're currently filming about that. I had a great time with you all over at the Dallas meetup. Big shout outs to them and Carson and team. But one of the guests that they had there, I had a conversation just about that synthetic data and what we're training the model on, and is it even reality? And we got deep. So I'll leave it for the podcast. I'm excited about